Welcome to episode 2 of the Project One podcast. Today, I'm going to be speaking to the head coach of Team Anaconda Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on the New South Wales Central Coast, Chris Boles. He also happens to be my coach, and I've been training with him for, going back six years now, I think. But it's a pleasure to talk to him. Chris, mate, it's a bit of a strange time at the moment. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. It's been probably one of the tougher weeks we've had. It's been a tough couple of years for the club. So, it's been a pretty rough week for the whole industry. I'm not going to pretend I'm on my own with some issues, but I guess the isolation thing as well. Everyone's getting all this bad news and stuff, and then you sort of got to sit in your house and just swallow it. So it's a tough time.
Yeah, it is. And as you said, the industry, all gyms, and especially it's all gyms now, but jiu-jitsu, obviously, it's a very close contact sport. So when half of the edict going around is that you need to stay 1.5 meters away from each other, kind of makes what we do impossible.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's one of the strengths. That's why there's such a bond between the team, that it is such an intimate style. You're in each other's personal space all the time. So unfortunately, its strength has become its weakness here. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting past this and getting back into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, there's bumps and everything, but as long as you come out stronger on the other end, that's all you can really do. Let's get into a bit of the history of yourself first. And the whole idea of this podcast is that everyone's got a story to tell. So where yours happens to go tonight doesn't have to just stick with jiu-jitsu. It can go wherever you please, wherever it wants to, and we'll just see how that flows. But we'll start with martial arts. So you pretty much have been in martial arts as a lot, well, obviously as long as I've known you, but pretty much your whole life. But it didn't start with jiu-jitsu. How did you first come into martial arts, and then how did you then find jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, well, probably I was actually a bit of a late bloomer with martial arts, like being a Generation Xer, going through the Karate Kid phase, and I remember, Van Damme was a big thing back in the day. Getting a kickboxing bag in the shed and hitting that as a early teenager and stuff. But didn't really formally hit proper martial art till 1998, actually. So I was 24. I moved up to Gladstone in Queensland for work, and one of the guys I was working with did Muay Thai. We went and had a look at one of their gradings, and they had a club that was combined, where they did Muay Thai and Taekwondo. So they had a grading day, and we sort of went and had a look at both of those, and did a bit of casual Muay Thai up there for not very long. I was only there for 6 months. That was probably my first introduction to a formal martial arts class. And then I moved back to New South Wales. I actually met my wife at my sister's wedding. So I flew back to the Hunter Valley for my sister's wedding, and some friends introduced me to my wife. So yeah, got to know her through correspondence for a while, and then ended up moving back to New South Wales and getting a job back in the Hunter Valley. And it sort of all started from there. I was doing all sorts of jobs. At the time, I was a fitter and machinist. So I was working as a tradesman up in Queensland, and just moved back to New South Wales. And I took a job as a courier, and then got a job as a fitter machinist. So was back in New South Wales doing that, and I moved in with Kerry. And at the time, there were some issues with her ex. And yeah, I sort of had a good think about what was happening, and come to the realisation that I couldn't protect myself, let alone anyone else that I cared about. So in that little period, I actually got a job with Ausgrid as a adult apprentice linesman, so climbing poles and working on overhead mains, and then went to TAFE at that time with a guy who ran a Taekwondo club. So I was talking to him about the situation. He sort of said, come along and do a class and learn some self-defense. So started there in 2002. So yeah, that was, I guess, the first martial arts class where I was regularly, turning up.
And how long did you train in Taekwondo for?
So started in 2002. I got to about, I think it was 2006. So 4 years in, I just got my second Dan black belt. So it took me 4 years to get to second Dan, which is pretty quick, really. And then I was at work, had an accident where I come off the back of a fairly tall cable truck, had a access ladder, come off the back of that and pretty badly broke my ankle. So yeah, that was a bit of a tough time. It's probably really bad rehab. It didn't come good. So I had to go to work and ask if there was any jobs in the office. I just couldn't climb poles and walk around on uneven ground all day anymore. And so that sort of started my career on a technical side. Moved into the office 2007 at Ausgrid as an electrical engineer. So for the 4 years before that, while I was an adult apprentice, I'd actually gone to TAFE at night for 4 years as well, and just as a backup plan, or plan B, I guess. And yeah, I'm glad I did that because I definitely needed it. 4 years later. So obviously that brought the Taekwondo and stuff to a bit of a head as well.
How long was well, you said the rehab never actually took. How long before you were back to basically a physically capable human being, but even without training, like just being able to be functional day-to-day stuff?
So it took probably 6 months before I could get around with any sort of like mobility. I still had a lot of pain though, so it took 6 months to get, because I was on workers' comp as well, it just complicated everything. I had to go through that process and just went round and round in circles with physios and doctors, and it was really frustrating. Ended up after 6 months, it was still no good, and I talked him into going to a specialist. So we went and saw one of the guys at North Sydney sports medicine. So he'd done Brett Lee, a few other high-profile rugby league players, ankle surgeries and stuff. So yeah, they did an arthroscopy and did a clean out, and so after that, at least I could get around and I had no pain. It wouldn't swell up at the end of the day, and so that was 12 months between the injury and actually being able to start rehab with no pain. Start walking around the block, whatnot. So this was 12 months. Yeah, it was interesting though, because I was so kind of motivated before that. Like when I did the ankle, I was like, I just want to get back into martial arts. I wanted to compete. I had all these goals that I wanted to do. So I actually printed out the world record for 800 meters. And I was like, I'm going to train as if I want to break this record. So yeah, just started walking, and I was walking around the block. I was walking around the block on the gutter like a tightrope, sort of trying to build up strength around the ankle, and started to walk a bit, jog a bit, and then trained probably 6 months, and then I did the 20-kilometer Tough Mudder, which is an obstacle course. It was pretty tough, and probably it was a good 6 months after that again till I got back to martial arts. So
really, how long's that? That's
took me out of commission for probably 18 months.
Yeah, right. So before you could do anything, and then you went back into Taekwondo at that stage?
Yeah, that's right. So I just went back and started training and, helping out the kids and just doing whatever I could do just to keep involved. Um, so yeah, because I had that competitive sort of drive, like I wanted to compete, I wanted to get better, and I just didn't want to limp along. Like I wanted to excel at something. So that's when I sort of got into one of the master instructors looked at getting into competition, which there was a competition called NAS, or National All Styles. So it's a competition format where it's one set of rules, like sort of like kickboxing, with some protective gear on, and it's open to all styles, so karate, kung fu, taekwondo, sort of anyone could get in and have a go based on time in training.
Right.
So yeah, the master instructor had sort of let us know that that was available, and some of their students and the clubs around were going to start having a go at that. So that was a funny story. Went down for the first competition. I just entered it. I didn't know the rules or anything. So I entered black belt, whatever it was, whatever level. And what they did was they had, I think it was 16 in our division, and there was a red and a blue side of the mat. So what they did was they called the people out, and they said, okay, they called your name, and then they said red, the next name was blue, the next name was red. So I watched a couple of people sort of go either side, and I thought, oh, okay, what's happening here is the first name and the second name are against each other, the third name and the fourth name. And so I heard my name and then this other guy's name, and I can't even remember the guy's name. But when I heard his name, I thought, oh, that sounds familiar. But yeah, anyway, went out there and he head kicked me in about the first 3 seconds, fractured my cheekbone. And so that was the introduction to the kickboxing sparring competition, the National All Styles. And then actually went home and Googled him and found out that he was the World All Styles black belt champion 2 or 3 years before that, 2 years in a row. And
first ever competition at this kind of all styles level, and you're taking on like the champ first up without knowing who it is, only to find out later that he's pretty handy.
Yeah, and at that stage, trying to think what year that was. That probably would have been about 2008. 2008. So I would have been 34. 2008. Yes, I was 34 years old at that stage. These guys were 20 years old, fast, athletic, been training since they were 5. So that was because I just entered. I didn't even know what the events were. We just entered a couple of events. And so that was point sparring. So there was a couple of different sparring events. One was point sparring and one was continuous sparring. So point sparring, like you could, the first Karate Kid movie, where it's like if someone gets a strike, it's like stopped and they go, point Daniel LaRusso. That was the style. And because these guys were so fast and young, they were just too fast. And the other style was what they call continuous sparring. So it was more like just ordinary kickboxing. You just had a round of 5 minutes or whatever it was, where you just continually punched and kicked the crap out of each other. And then there was 3 judges that basically decided the winner. So it was more suited to me. I think I was about 104 kilos at that stage. So that more suited my style of being a bigger guy, just pushing people around. So after the first competition, I lost my first match in continuous sparring as well, but I've had that match with a fractured cheekbone from the first fight that I had. So yeah, so I went home and it was like, well, I could either strike that off, have tried that, never do that again, or I was like, or I could train like they do and do what they do, and that's a challenge. Let's try and compete with those guys. They're just normal people. So that gave me some sort of inspiration to train at a good high level. Um, so yeah, for the next 2 years, I just stuck to the continuous sparring event, just tried to specialise in that, and it took me probably, I don't know, 18 months, and I actually won one of the divisions. So over 12 months of losing, and then ended up winning one of the divisions. They have 4 rounds a year, so there's 4 rounds, and then they have a state championships and then a national championships. So I won one of the rounds for the year, and I got pretty pumped about that. And then the following year went back, and I won the first round, and then I won the second round, and then I lost the final of the third round. I won the fourth round, and then won the state title, and then went to the nationals and actually drew the guy I beat in New South Wales in the state final, and he just got me in the first round of the nationals, which we were both dirty about, because we were like, why 2 people from New South Wales? We've flown to Melbourne to compete against each other, that we compete against each other in the New South Wales series all the time. But anyway, he just got me on a ref's decision. And so, finished the year as the New South Wales Open Black Belt champion 2010. Went back to the 2011 as the first round of 2011 and got a pretty nasty kick through my knee. So I missed the next 2 rounds. I was training. It took me about 4 months to really recover from that.
So 2011, still competing in, and well, all styles, obviously, with the training background being in Taekwondo. How did it was about that? Would have been about that stage you started in jiu-jitsu? Because I think you would remember saying something. You've been in it for about 10 years now.
That's right. So 2010, actually, while I was still competing in that, one of my friends who was talking about jiu-jitsu at work, one of the guys I worked with, who'd gone through the Taekwondo system with me at the same school, got his black belt, and sort of just lost interest. He started talking to me about this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which we'd obviously seen UFC and we knew about. So he started talking about it and got me all motivated, and then sort of went quiet on it, went cold on it. So, June 2010, I actually looked into it, and I thought Jamie Ballard, because I was living at Muswellbrook in the Hunter Valley, and I rang Jamie Ballard at Beresfield, which was an hour drive either way, to see if I could come down and do some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with him. And I left a message on his mobile, and it was 2 or 3 days later, he hadn't got back to me. And I got talking to the guy at work again, my friend, and he said, I think there's a club at Singleton, which is only sort of 35, 40 minutes away. So I Googled those guys and saw that it was a Will Machado school, Hunter Valley BJJ and MMA under Sean Kirkwood, who was, at the time, he was a 2nd degree black belt under John Will. This is 2010. Gave Sean a call and turned up a couple of nights later for my first class. So
there wasn't a lot of jiu-jitsu in Australia at all at that stage, was there? Like, it was still pretty early days of jiu-jitsu in Australia.
Yeah, I just don't remember sort of hearing about it, really. I know there was obviously clubs around, but the club at Singleton was only it was a hall that was hired out, like a church hall. But Singleton at the time was in a bit of a mining boom. So being a mining town, you had a lot of people coming from other states and whatever. They'd come in and have a 6-month contract building a conveyor or a haul road or something. And so you'd get a fair steady stream of blue belts from other places, just turn up and train for 3 or 6 months, and then you wouldn't see them again. But you'd be regularly 30 people on the mat in a small church hall. And it was pretty much kill or be killed at that club. It was pretty hard training. We did MMA on the Monday night and gi jiu-jitsu on the Thursday night. And I did my first MMA class and just got smashed and choked and bashed, and
you probably
actually left there that night. And it was kind of like I had this realization that that's actually what I was after.
Okay. Yeah, because it's interesting because you would have walked into an MMA class thinking, look, I know how to fight.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, having all that background in striking and taekwondo and being a state champion, and was it national champion as well? Or but
no, that was just before the state titles. That
yeah.
was
So
I'd made 4 finals and won 3 of the 4 finals.
So
up to that. So yeah,
I
was going okay.
I can fight, and then all of a sudden you go into an MMA class and start getting kind of cleaned up and seeing that, you know, martial arts game has got a lot more to it yet.
Yeah. The interesting thing was that I just absolutely loved it from the first class. And as I said, it felt like to me like I'd actually found what I should be doing. Like I thought I was doing what I was looking for, but it wasn't until I had that first class there that I realized that what I was doing actually wasn't what I was searching for, and that was it. I did a few classes, and I guess towards the end of that year, because of the competition and stuff with the taekwondo, sort of finished up. Like I barely missed a class in the 4 years or whatever I was there. After probably 2 months, the first 2 months because it was on the same night as taekwondo as well. I'd spend 1 week at jiu-jitsu, doing both nights, and then I'd go back to taekwondo. And it was interesting when I started doing jiu-jitsu and the guys at taekwondo found out about that. They then started saying to me, "Oh, we think you should sit your 3rd dan grading," and all this stuff started happening for me, you know. And I said, okay, yeah. They said, "Oh, we're going to get you to do your 3rd dan grading at the end of the year. You know, for that, you need to be training here all the time." And what I found was I'd go to jiu-jitsu and MMA and just be seriously challenged every night and be learning so much. It was like, I always describe it, it's like, you know, if someone walks into your house and shows you a secret door along your hallway and opens it up and shows you all this stuff that, like something that you absolutely love, like you never knew was there. It was so close. And someone just opens the door and shows you that. And you're just like, I can't believe this has been here. How have I not seen this? How have I not been exposed to this so far? You know, how haven't I found this yet? And I felt a little bit cheated, actually. Like if I'd done, you know, almost a decade of taekwondo, and there were some things, chokes and different things that I thought, why wouldn't someone have taught me this if we were learning self-defense and how to fight? Why haven't I seen this stuff before?
Yeah, it's funny because it was like watching those early days of UFC. Like I remember thinking the exact same thing. Like growing up with, as you said, all the Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, and you know, thinking that kicking and punching was the ultimate way to defend yourself. And then all of a sudden, you see this 80-kilogram guy just taking out monsters. You know, in Hoist Gracie, and it changed my whole world in how you fight, and just became a brand new thing. And it's just the evolution of fighting. It's just shown a whole new aspect to it, which you never really knew was there.
Yeah, and I think because the rules didn't allow the reality to take place. So your sparring rules, you know, like boxing or any of these sort of non-contact martial arts or partially contact, you know, what the rules are is when you're at striking distance, and whenever there's any sort of clinch, you stop and you break that up. So if you watch, you know, most boxing matches, you know, it's punch, punch, clinch. And then you're separated again so you can punch again. So, you know, the way a fight goes down, that's what happens. Punch, punch, clinch.
Exactly right. But there's no one to pull you apart at that point. It's just you got to work from there into doing something else. So
right, you've either got to clinch and cover and back up and strike again, or keep clinching and grapple. So
It almost,
Yeah, got to the end.
almost
Got
seems
to the end of
obvious, doesn't it? It almost seems obvious when you really think about it, because that's literally whenever you see anyone, there's always a wrestle going on. You're never standing at a distance, toe to toe, you know, letting someone hit you. As you said, even the highest professional boxers in the world, they punch, clinch, and then they have to be separated again. If there was no one to separate them, they'd just
I
be
guess
dirty boxing.
you don't know what you don't know is a bit of a weird phrase. If you haven't seen it and you haven't been exposed to it and you don't know it exists, then you know you can't do it. You can't.
Yeah,
I find that with jiu-jitsu and teaching brand new people. You just sometimes you forget that people didn't come out of the womb knowing how to bridge and roll or knowing how to do an elbow escape from mount, or you know.
yeah, absolutely.
You train so long, you just take for granted that people
Yeah,
know the basics. It's hard to. You're trying to remember back to a time when you didn't know that. We didn't know.
you pick up, you're having a bit of a wrestle with someone, or even like I've done it with mates, and you go, no, hold on, that's not what you do when I do this. Like, because
Yeah, back up.
yeah, that's right. No, because if you do that, I'm just going to grab your arm and, you know, rip it off, or take your neck and choke it. But so it just seems like the most obvious, almost muscle memory stuff that comes to you from the absolute basics. But as you said, if you've never been exposed to it, you just don't know what you're doing. Like, and you kind of find yourself in a world that's chaos to you. You just don't know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. And that's there's a bit of frustration with the traditional martial art I was studying, and when I was exposed to these other skills, like I'd go back to my training and they'd sort of say, oh, you've been training over there, what have you learnt? And you might say, I remember saying, oh, we did a cross collar choke, like an X choke. So you grab the collar, you grab the other collar, and then you squeeze around the neck. And I remember one comment from one of the guys was like, "Duh, I just elbow you in the face." Like that was from closed guard. You're on your back, cross collar choke from your closed guard, and they said, "Oh, I just elbow you in the face." And I was like, "Yeah, I've only been there a couple of weeks. I don't think I'm practicing cross collar chokes under raining elbows yet, mate. I'm sure that'll come up." But in the same instance, we don't do takedowns. So if we were sparring and you threw a kick and I caught your kick, I'm not allowed to lift you up and throw you on the ground. So it was a bit frustrating trying to help them. I was sort of saying like, hey, there's this stuff that I'm learning. It's pretty amazing. And I think I care for you guys. I think you guys should check some of this stuff out. And it kind of got brushed off.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the evolution of mixed martial arts has really shown, like, obviously the UFC is such big business now, and it's obviously all these styles put together, and it's really just changed all those traditional ones on their own. Even jiu-jitsu to an extent isn't good enough on its own. Like it's still very practical, but like as far as the evolution of the fight game, it's all come together, and all the singularity doesn't work on its own anymore. You need to have a bit of everything, and if you brush it off, you're really going to find yourself in trouble.
Yeah. So training at sort of both of them for those few months, and I ended up sitting my third degree black belt, and did that really easily. Like it was because I'd trained at such a high intensity, and like I was training and I was at the state champion level because I trained at that level. Like a local grading was just nothing, it was so easy. It wasn't funny at that stage, like sparring people for long periods of time and multiple opponents and stuff. Like it was so easy. And then what I thought was, like there's only so much time, time's crucial. And what I want to be doing is spending my time doing this other thing that I've just found this love for. And so, yeah, I took the brand new third Dan black belt off, threw it in the cupboard where it still sits, and pulled my one stripe white belt belt out, and then did that. So
That's got to be.
all I did
That's
from
got
then
to
on.
be a
Yeah.
bit of a. That's got to be a humbling experience, like going from absolute top of the tree in one art to coming into
Yeah.
another one and just being, so just inexperienced that you're legitimately starting again. That's got to be very humbling.
Yeah. I really found it enjoyable. I guess it's like I found this other thing that was really closely related to what I love, but something I enjoyed more, and I was at the start again.
Yeah, it's almost
It
like
was,
it's almost
like a rebirth. Where I
exactly.
sort of,
I can do it all again, but with something that I'm absolutely loving and learning.
and
Yeah, I like
there's so much more to learn. It seemed
that.
like there was just never ending. Because at that stage, I'd go to a class and we'd do some moves, some techniques, and then I'd come back to the next class and there'd be more techniques. And at that stage, it just seemed like every night we were learning something new and new and new. And your head was just spinning. And probably 6 months in, I talked to another couple of guys at work to come and train with us. And we were training together, driving to Singleton together and training there. And then we bought 16 square metres of mats and set up the change rooms at work. And so we were spending our lunch break rolling in the change rooms, buying every John Will book we could find, technique book, and drilling and practicing stuff. That was sort of the white belt days. We were training like 5 days a week at work, twice a week at the class.
Yeah, right. So you've spent a bit of time on your white, and then next belt in the jiu-jitsu hierarchy is blue belt. That's a big deal for anyone at that stage. And I know you've gone well past that now, but how did it feel to get that kind of first coloured belt promotion?
Well, I always, my attitude is, say, as a white belt, my job isn't to become a blue belt. It's to become a good white belt. What does a good white belt look like? And if I'm that, then a blue belt isn't heavy at all. You know what I mean? So I was a white belt for maybe 2 years, maybe. I think I was a 3-stripe white belt, and all the guys in the club said, "Hey, let's go to Melbourne. We're going to go down to the gathering, which is the Machado Gathering, which is every September down in Melbourne. Competition all day Saturday, seminars with Hegan Machado comes out from America all day Sunday." So the guys were like, "Oh, we're going to have a trip. We're all going to stay at motel together and whatnot." They were all going down. There's about a dozen of them. So I was kind of like, "Oh, my sister lives in Melbourne. I could just stay with her. That sounds good." The year before, I'd gone to Melbourne for the Nationals in National All Styles. So I was like, "Oh, I went to Melbourne last year. I'll just do the same thing again this year. Go down to the gathering, give that a crack as a 3rd-stripe white belt." And one of the boys said, "Oh, there's a competition actually this weekend in Sydney. How about we go in that and we'll get a bit of practice before we go to Melbourne." So that was actually my first comp as a 3rd-stripe white belt. I think it was a Champions Cup or something in Sydney at Ryde. So I just went in like weight division, gi and no gi, and ended up winning both those divisions. So first comp, double gold. Went down to Melbourne about 2 months later. And that was just crazy hard, I made the final, lost to a Kimura. Pretty upset about it at the time, but made the final in Melbourne at the gathering for the first year. Got back to training. It was probably about 6 months later, maybe early March. Got my blue belt, and it seems funny at that time. I thought, because I was training 5 days a week at work, I was competing. Like hardly anyone else in the club was doing competitions and stuff. And not a lot of them were rolling. Like at the end of class, the class kind of finished, and we had mats, jigsaw mats we had to pack up. So there'd only be 4 or 6 people having a quick roll before people were pulling mats out from underneath them to pack up and lock the place up. So we were rolling at work and stuff. So like I felt like I was one of the better guys, like in the club, training and rolling and stuff. So blue belt didn't seem like a big jump from there. I kind of felt like I was at the level of the other blue belts, so it wasn't a big jump, I didn't think, at that stage. I think it would have been different if I was like a lot of the other guys that just turn up to training, do some techniques, go home.
So basically it was feeling like the right time to get that promotion. So as you said, you felt like you could carry it fairly comfortably. Yeah, that's cool. All right, well, let's get into. I want to talk about teaching. Like, at what point? Because you obviously have a school now, like have a jiu-jitsu school now. At what point did you say, I want to teach this stuff?
Yeah. So after I came back from the ankle injury to Taekwondo, I'm not sure how long I was there for back at training, but the opportunity came up to open a class in another small town near us, like a satellite school. So I actually went up to a town called Scone and started teaching Taekwondo classes up there twice a week. Just started a new main club. Did some advertising, some letterbox drops, and started teaching a fairly small class up there. You'd probably get 6 a night or something. So that was like my first. Obviously, I've been teaching assistant coach and stuff like that at my own club, but that was my first leading a class, like running my own class, running my own program.
And that was Taekwondo, did you say?
Yeah, that's right. So I had a little bit of practice at presenting a skill set that I wanted to get across to someone, and what's the best way to get that information across, presentation wise, and preparation, class planning. So I had a little bit of experience at that. I think it was 2013 we moved to the Central Coast. So I got a job at Hornsby with Ausgrid. We moved to the Central Coast here. I was a blue belt. I started driving to Hornsby to work and then driving back to Newcastle to train at Warners Bay, still under Sean Kirkwood. And that got really hard, like 3 months of doing that. It was just killing me. As much as I wanted to keep training with the same guys. My son Mitchell, who was maybe a 2nd or 3rd stripe white belt at the time, he'd been training with me at Singleton. I think he was about 16. We just decided to buy some mats, hire a council hall a couple of nights a week and just have a roll here locally. So that was at Warnervale Athletic Field. So that was December 2013. So that's where our club here first started teaching jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because I came out of Sydney myself, and I was married in 2012 and lived in Sydney for a year after I was married. In 2013, I came up and was just looking for a new jiu-jitsu club, and I was like, oh, here we go, here's one, expecting that you guys might have been around for a while, and realistically you probably probably only just got started within the last year or so.
2 or 3 months or whatever it was, or maybe a bit longer, not somewhere around there. Yeah. So I was still trying to get back to Newcastle and train when I could, but running the club 2 nights a week here, we pretty quickly got, a good core, 6 or 8 a night, roughly. After probably 6 months, we were getting six or 8 people a night. So I actually started, I met Elvis Sinisic from SPMA Martial Arts at a competition down in Sydney. I had a chat with him because Jamie Ballard, who I'd actually started training with at Hunter Valley Martial Arts, and he'd been around the Newcastle scene a little bit. I'd got to know him over the years. He actually became an affiliate with Elvis. And so that sort of bit of a light bulb went off. It was like, oh, might have a chat to Elvis and see what that's all about. So I had a chat with him at one of the competitions, and ended up just at my lunch breaks at work in Hornsby, I'd duck over to Concord and do a morning class, and then have a shower and come back to work, and then make up that time after work, and then do that on the days where I wasn't running the club at Warnervale. So met some of the guys at Elvis's gym there, Tony Pycroft and a few other guys. So that was sort of 2014.
It's a bit of a blur. It's been a bit of a whirlwind between some of the gyms, gone from the hall into, a squash court, into a shared MMA gym, into our own. I think that first big step up into North Wyong, where we had just our own facility, and it was an excellent facility, was big for the club. And then to finally move to an even bigger one now, just shown, how much the club has grown over the years. That's got to be, a bit of a proud moment to see how much a club has actually grown. Because you've had people come and go, which is always sad. But I mean, to see the club grow from a hall in Warnervale near a sports field, to where it is now must be a pretty proud moment for yourself.
Yeah, it's it's been hard work, and I've said this recently. I want to be successful. I want to have a successful club and a great team so badly that you can lose track of how much we've grown and how far we've come already. Recently, a couple of weeks ago, we'd broken attendance records 2 weeks in a row, and I remember tracking attendance, and 60 visits a week was, I was pretty pumped about that. And we more than, we're 2.5 times that, going back 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so, yeah, when you think about where we've come from, it's definitely been a.
Yeah, I think it's healthy to always want that next step to, keep building and keep growing. But it's it is important to realize where you've come from as well, because it's been an achievement in itself, just how much the club's grown already. It has to be sustainable too. We're not funded by a multinational, organisation. We're self-funded. So it's had to be sustainable growth. We've had to grow our club to be able to pay the bills and stuff, to move into the next size place, and then build that club up to be able to move to the next one. And that sustainable growth has sort of allowed us to move to where we are now. Yeah, absolutely. So you said where the Team Anaconda is now an affiliate of Elvis Sinasek, and which is King's Academy. Talk about I know lineage is an important part of what you do, and there's a lot of places out there that kind of pop up that don't have a legitimate lineage. I know that's important to you. Can you give us a bit of a bit on the history of where Team Anaconda's come from and why that's important to you?
Yeah. So as I said, I started. Sometimes it's through sheer luck. You luck into a certain club. So I started with Sean Kirkwood, who was, as I said, a black belt under John Will, and I was with Sean for probably 4 years. And in that time, we had regular visits from John Will. So he would come up a couple of times a year and do his 3-hour seminar. And John probably had, possibly the biggest influence in my martial arts journey so far. My attitude about training, my teaching style, the syllabus and everything comes from him. I've always enjoyed that Australian flavour of our organisation. So not being able to get to Newcastle to train with Sean was frustrating, and it was disappointing that we couldn't keep training with those guys. But staying under John Will and being with Machado and staying with the Machado club or association was something that I really wanted to do. I never ever thought of leaving the Machado group and going anywhere else. Over the years, I've spent a lot of time training with Hegan. I've gone to Melbourne almost 10 years in a row to train with him every year. I've trained with Jean-Jacques, and I've trained with Carlos Machado, who is Elvis's coach. So now we're under Elvis. So he's my coach, and then he's directly under Carlos Machado now. So the 5 Machado brothers, cousins to the Gracies, Brazilian brothers that moved to the US and started their businesses up there. So, their style, their attitude, their relaxed nature, the family attitude, has gone down through John, down to all the guys below him, Elvis, Sean, Anthony Lang, all these guys in New South Wales, and then that's filtered through to me, and that's why I wanted to set up my own club. I didn't want to go and join the local jiu-jitsu club that was here, not because I didn't like those guys or didn't want to do what they were doing, but I wanted to do it our way, the way we were training, and the feeling on our mat. I wanted to keep that. So even though it was hard, and that initially that stunted my own growth, because it would have been easy for me to just take the 45-minute drive to Erina and train under a black belt, and that would have been okay for me, but I wouldn't have been happy. By trying to start your own club from scratch, the consistent students coming through are all white belts. They know nothing. You're not getting that advanced technical knowledge and technical development when you're training with high-level colour belts and stuff in the class. And, many people would come into the hall at Warnervale and see that I was a blue belt, and not long after that I was a purple belt. And they'd see a class of 10 white belts under a purple belt, and then if they were a blue belt or a purple, they'd just turn around and walk back out again, because they just assumed, we didn't know a lot, so the level wasn't very high, so they'd go back to training where they were. And so that happened a lot, coloured belts contacting me and then coming in and seeing it was pretty much all white belts and then going again. So it's been a struggle to get that acceptance from the local community, because I'm not a black belt.
On that note, you'd almost need to be more proud, because you're brown now, 4 stripes, that final step before finally grading to black. But that's got to be as you said, every karate school, every taekwondo school, they've got black belts at the top, and some of them have got that black belt in a very quick amount of time. But coming into jiu-jitsu, where there's no shortcuts, there's no, and starting a club like that, to actually build something when you don't have that symbol, like that black belt symbol around your waist straight away, would make it a struggle, because people come in and not knowing anything about jiu-jitsu, they just look up at the coach and go, oh well, there's no black belt, why am I going to learn here? But so what an amazing, it's been a journey to get this far, and it's obviously there's still more of it to come.
I think too that jiu-jitsu's got that the realism. So you could wander around the front of a class at a traditional martial arts club, and you have an assumed level of knowledge, Like you might see that, oh, there's that black belt, and he's been here for 20 years, and he obviously does this, this, and this. No one's ever seen it, but I mean, he's obviously shit hot.
Yeah.
Where every single class, every single person on the mat has to show they're up to it. They're up to their level. They have to prove not prove, but I mean, you have to defend the belt that you're wearing with the level that you've got. And especially as I've aged, like I'm, 45 now, the constant, and we're open 4 nights a week. So the constant stream of athletic young guys that want to come in and say, what's this jiu-jitsu thing? And my technique has to show them it's effective. If it's not effective, then they're not going to do it. So yeah, that, you're going to battle every night. It's tough. I work full time as well. So 4 nights a week, finish work, go to the mat and slug it out with fresh people every night. When I'm there every night, I'll be there on a Monday night, and there might be however many people that want to get their roll on. They're after you.
Yeah, and realistically, it's your job to show them what you know. And
that's it. You turn up Tuesday night, and all those guys aren't there, but there's another fresh set of guys, so they're expecting you to put it on again, and then Wednesday night's the same, and Thursday night's the same. So it's brutal. It's a tough art.
And it's one of those, it's that art that's 100%. Like you don't have to go easy, so to speak, when you're rolling. It's not like, you're not going to, if you go into a striking gym of some sort, you're not going to be punching each other in the head full on every time in jiu-jitsu. You just need to know the control to, so you don't snap an arm or something, because obviously you're not going to do that. But
and the new people don't have that control too.
Yeah, that's right.
And they can't. They're in a fight. They got the fight, flight, sort of thing happening. That's crazy. So controlling that person and showing them the effectiveness of jiu-jitsu every night. But I love it. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's that's what we do it for.
That's right. You wouldn't be doing it for 4 nights a week for however, for 10 years. If you didn't love it. I mean, it's just obviously labor of love.
Tough. It's a tough.
It's hard. That means, you know what? Sometimes the things that are hardest are usually the most rewarding, because you've something out of it. It's not. If it was easy, you'd just be. Yeah, absolutely.
With the the Team Anaconda, like where we come from, to have a quick run through that if you want.
Absolutely.
Coming from my competitive background, like as I said, I got into that competitive side. I like to compete and challenge and get out of the gym, get out of the club bubble, and test myself against other people. And that came from snap that ankle, and I was like, I could just curl up and give up. I was like, no, I'm gonna train like I'm going to the Olympics. That's how hard I'm coming back. And I tried to, carry that, from then on, basically, like a bit of a fire. And so the Team Anaconda thing, as I said, because I didn't have the other coloured belts around me to really push myself to the next level, I got my purple belt, and I'd probably been a purple for about 12 months. And I was getting a bit frustrated with, our syllabus and then a few things. How do you create more advanced, more technical, better grapplers if all you're doing is white belt syllabus and white belt stuff? And it was hard to get that at my club, obviously, because everyone was a white belt. Everyone else was a white belt. So because we were part of the Will Machado Association, and there was a couple of schools in the Hunter. There was one at Singleton still. There was one at Warners Bay, one at Morisset. So what I got onto all the guys who I knew, because I used to train at those places, so I knew all those guys, and I sort of said, look, this is what I want to do. I want to start competing, and I want to train to compete. So we can't just go in competitions. You're going to get murdered. So what we need to do is train like the people that compete do, which is a higher level than just a normal class. If we train like that, to improve, you got to train like the best person in the class. If you do that, everyone improves. If you train at the level of the slowest person, the less technical person, no one improves. So how do you get that intensity and high level of training without leaving new people behind? So I basically put it out there to the groups that I'm going to put on a free class every Saturday, and we can rotate it around the clubs, and we'll have a competition class. So we're training specifically for competition. So it's not self-defense stuff. This is purely comp, sport, jiu-jitsu. I'll run the first session. We're going to have, I want everyone to turn up with an exercise book. I want you to think about your game plan. I want an upper level game plan. The takedown, the guard pass, the position you're going to get to win the match, and how you're going to win submission. So high level 4-step game plan. I want you to already work that out based on where you're getting to and what your strengths are. And we're going to train together every Saturday morning at a higher level. So be prepared to, heaps of more rolls, longer rounds, more intensity, really trying to actually win and dominate the roll. We had the first session at our place at Warnervale. I think there was about 7 people turned up. So we did that first session, and then I think it was 2 weeks later we had the second one in Newcastle at one of the schools there, one of our other Machado schools, and it was only me and the coach turned up. So, because it wasn't just me that was expressing frustration at blues and especially or purples. How do we get better if we're not training harder and faster? And you know what I mean? So I had other people like that in my ear saying, hey, we need to do something. We need to get together. We're not getting better, blah, blah, blah. So it's pretty disappointing when I took a free session to that club for these people that had been saying they need stuff to not even turn up. And so when we did the first session, I basically said, I created the Facebook group and we started, communicating through that. It was called Team Anaconda. And it was the Will Machado, Newcastle and Central Coast competition team. And as I said, it lasted 2 weeks. And I just went, I'm not, because I was a bit selfish of me because I wanted to improve. I wanted to get better. And I thought the only way to get better is by getting the best people in our clubs together regularly to do that so I can get better, so I can roll with better people. And then they kind of, they did pick it up. So I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to have to look after myself now. So I started doing training Elvis's, training black belts and stuff down there. And I was really interested at no-gi at the time. Like I was in one of those stages where I just want to do no-gi. So I rang up Frank Barker at 10th Planet Melbourne, and I'm like, hey, Frank, I just want to do no-gi. Have you got a school in Sydney or somewhere I can start training at? And he said, oh, no, there isn't. He said, I got a guy in Newcastle, Justin Murray. He got Brotherhood Training Centre at Charlestown. He's learning the 10th Planet stuff. He's learning the system. You go and train with him and we'll go from there. So I started going to Brotherhood every Tuesday night, doing the no-gi class there. I did that for about 10 months. And I got an email there one day sort of telling me that if it's not a Machado club, don't train there. So I sort of had a bit of a falling out with my old coach. So at that stage, I contacted Elvis and said, I'm prepared to come under you full time. Can we have that chat? And he came up a couple of weeks later. We did a seminar and he met the guys, and I think you were there for that. I'm not sure. I was upstairs at the YMCA.
Yep, I was there for that one for sure.
So yeah, that was from then on. Yeah, we basically hooked up with him straight away, and we've been with him ever since. Yeah, so that's basically where the Team Anaconda came from.
Yeah, right.
And what I wanted was that style, that type of training, that thought process of every person has an individualized game plan. It's like individual coaching rather than walking into a class, spitting out 5 techniques and walking out again. I wanted to not be an instructor. I wanted to be a coach.
Yeah.
I wanted to personally coach. And people might say, oh, yeah, that's all right when there's only 6 people. What if there's 40 people? Well, me as a coach, I said it's my job to make you a blue belt after X amount of time. Right? So if you start training with me and you're 2.5 years in and and you're not blue belt ready, that's my fault. So it's up to me to make you a blue belt in a certain period of time. If you're not ready for that, that's my fault. So I take that personally, where every single person, I know where they're at, what they're working on, where their strengths and weaknesses are. And that was the competition team coach philosophy that I wanted to bring in for everyone. And from then on, that was the philosophy with Team Anaconda. And that's why we pretty much skew towards sports jiu-jitsu. We're very heavy on the sports side. Obviously, we do self-defense and stuff, especially for new people. And the kids is very high on self-defense. But for adults, we're pretty high on, I guess, the sports side of it.
Absolutely, that's great. Okay, so we'll finish up with this, and we'll go with. We've talked all about the history and where we've come from. What does the future hold? Like, what's kind of the goals going forward? I know, first of all, we've got to get through the situation at hand, but what's the future hold for Team Anaconda? Where are we going? What's the next thought? What's the next thing?
Well, it's been a pretty tough week.
Yeah, I bet it has.
Mental health wise.
That's right.
You know, as you said, to grow something. So we're almost at the 7-year mark for Team Anaconda, for something that I've worked for. You got me?
Yeah, I can still hear you, Chris. Keep talking. Yeah, there you go. Keep going.
So yeah, what was I saying?
We're just saying we're at the 7-year mark at the moment.
Yeah, sorry. So for 7 years as I said, to train 3-4 nights a week, 5 days, Saturdays, as I said, in the grind, just getting smashed every night and doing that to build up to where we sort of were 3 weeks ago. And then to sort of have that closed when I felt like we had so much momentum, especially after, the couple of years we've had. It's been a tough couple of years. So, yes, this week's been pretty tough. I guess I've had my head down all week. Like we've sort of gone to online as most gyms have, providing some online content, trying to keep everyone engaged and some sort of motivation. So it wasn't until this afternoon, I guess, I come home and it's only been a week. It's crazy. Like I feel like I haven't rolled for 3 months. Come home this afternoon and I just absolutely smashed myself with the weights. And it's picked me up. Like I feel really good after that. And I thought, well, I'm not going to curl up after everything that's happened. Like I guess I need goals. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I need something to aim at. And so, yeah, I've just decided, all I can do is however long we're closed for, and when we get back, I'm just going to be jacked as. That's the plan.
Absolutely.
Smash myself with weights and come back a monster.
How's the carnivore diet going? Still going on that?
Yeah, it's good. My spiritual leader, Joe Rogan, sort of got me onto that.
Yeah, it's worked well for you, though. It's got some good results. I know you dropped quite a few kilograms doing it, and so
Elvis has been doing that. He's been doing forms of keto and carnivore for a fair few years. So getting some input from him, just all these people that used to go out and eat are all of a sudden taking all the meat out of the aisles. So I've had to add other stuff so we don't run out of meat. But carnivore. It was interesting. It started off as a 33-day experiment, and it blew out to 2 months, so I could make 80 kilos for a competition that got cancelled 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never felt fitter, and in a better shape in my life. So it's interesting. I'm the same as you. Like, we're in the 4th stripe club, Mike. How
Yeah.
frustrating.
Mate, you especially, you being 4th stripe brown, I'm like, don't get me wrong, I'm taking the chance to look over the syllabus and try and learn as much of it as I can. I'm 4th stripe blue for anyone who does, but 4th stripe brown on that, not obviously not the last step, but that big step is, but we'll get back. Look, I've got no doubt. I've got no doubt that we'll get back. It's been a journey so far with a lot of ups and downs as we've gone along, and I've got no doubt that we're going to come out, and however we come out, we're going to keep getting stronger from there. Like, I know it's changed my life, and the more that I'm rolling, the better I feel. Like, I've had my own issues, but I know
it's a huge mental health. Always say, especially for men. Like, I go on these sort of rants, but for thousands of years, men have come together in groups to be competitive. Like, if you speared a saber-toothed tiger and your family ate, and I didn't, then so we'd be hunting together, and we'd have that competitive thing. We'd practice war arts together in case the tribe over the hill run over and killed us and took our women and children. So my feeling is, for thousands of years, men have come together to spend time together, to shit talk and joke and do things of a competitive physical nature. And I just think jiu-jitsu is so closely related to what we've evolved with in that sense. You notice it when it's not there, for only a week,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's mate, I'll be honest, I've been sitting at a desk a little bit too much this week with getting a couple of fitness workouts in and stuff, and I'm just like, I need to be rolling, I need to be doing something, because it really, you get so used to doing it. And I was thinking, I've got all this time, but it's because I've been spending 4 nights doing jiu-jitsu a week, and there's all this time, and I'm like, I don't know, I don't want the time. I'd rather be back at jiu-jitsu, but we'll get there, mate. I've got no doubt. It's a strange time for the whole world at the moment, but thanks for coming on and telling us the Team Anaconda story and your own as well. Like, it's been really insightful for me, and I'm sure plenty of others will love to hear the story.
Yeah, no problem. It's we're only just getting started, though. That's what we keep saying.
That's it. I love it. All right, mate. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to leave it there. We've gone for actually well over what I wasn't even sure if we had this long, because I thought the Zoom connection was going to cut out on me after 40 minutes, but I think that's only if you've got more than one person speaking. But so we've gone over an hour comfortably, and I've really appreciated it. It's really good to learn a lot of that. There's quite a bit of that stuff there that I wasn't actually aware of. So it's actually pretty makes you pretty inspired to want to get back on the mats. Unfortunately, we'll just do that as soon as we can, and in the meantime, we'll stick with the online and doing whatever we can to move forward. But thank you again, mate. It is much appreciated. So, guys, just thanking Chris Boles. I hope you really enjoyed his story. I certainly did. But until next time, this has been the Project One podcast. See you later.